let's get ready to go back to Agrabah. I bet you thought you knew Aladdin pretty well, but we're going to look at it in a way you haven't before. We've got some really cool analysis of the movie, and it's going to make you see things in a whole new light.
Yeah, it's funny how when you look back on these childhood movies as an adult, you start to pick up on stuff that totally went over your head as a kid.
Totally.
And Aladdin is like a prime example of that. The source material we're looking at today really dives into like the whole socioeconomic landscape of Agrabah. It's not just a fairy tale. It's like a commentary on late-stage capitalism.
I have to admit, when I hear late-stage capitalism, I think, uh-oh, that's getting a little...
It sounds a little heavy. Yeah,
a little heavy for a Disney movie, right?
Yeah, but it's actually not as complicated as it sounds. Think of it this way. Late-stage capitalism basically means that wealth gets so concentrated at the top that it creates this huge gap between the haves and the have-nots. And we see that so clearly in Agrabah. You've got the Sultan living in crazy luxury while just outside the palace, people are struggling to get by.
It's like the film really exaggerates that contrast, right? You've got these lavish scenes in the palace, and then right outside the walls, it's like poverty right in your face.
Exactly. And the source material actually calls Agrabah a microcosm. Like, it's a mini version of a much bigger societal problem.
I see.
It's showing us, in a simplified way, how this extreme wealth gap can shape a whole society.
And that's where Aladdin comes in, right?
Yeah.
He's our hero, but he's also like a product of this system.
Right.
He's not just a charming thief. He's stealing to survive.
Exactly. He's participating in that system, even if he's at the very bottom of it. It makes you wonder, is the film actually critiquing this system, or just reflecting it?
Yeah, is this intentional or just a byproduct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
But speaking of interesting characters, we got to talk about the genie. I mean, we all love Robin Williams.
Oh, yeah.
His performance is iconic.
It's incredible.
But this analysis makes us think about the genie's situation a little differently.
It does.
I mean, he's got all this power.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal cosmic power.
Right.
But he's trapped.
Yeah.
And the source points out that he's basically a symbol of unpaid labor.
Right.
Right. Forced to serve whoever has the lamp.
Yeah, you're watching it as a kid and you're just like, oh, cool genie wishes.
Right.
But then as an adult, you're like, wait, he's been trapped for thousands of years.
Yeah, it gets dark.
This is messed up.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about the whole concept of wish capitalism,
Okay, explain that a little.
Basically, the idea that even our desires, our dreams, can be exploited. It's kind of bleak when you think about it that way.
Yeah. So it makes you wonder about Aladdin's motives for freeing the genie, right? At the end. Is he really doing it out of the goodness of his heart?
Yeah, good question.
Or is it more like he used the genie to get what he wanted and then was like, oh, yeah, you're free now?
It's like, did he earn the right to make that moral decision?
Right.
After, already benefiting from the genie's servitude. The source material makes us question whether Aladdin is really the hero we thought he was.
Wow, okay. And, speaking of complicated characters, we have to talk about Jafar.
Oh, yeah.
The classic Disney villain. But the source material has this interesting take on him. It suggests that we should see him as someone who's driven by ambition, but trapped in this rigid system where he can't really move up.
It's like he's hit a ceiling,
Right.
He's got all this potential, all this ambition, but he's stuck. They even compare him to a frustrated employee.
Oh, wow.
Who's like tired of being passed over for promotion.
Okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That seems a little too simple, right?
Okay, sure.
To say he's just a frustrated worker. I mean, he's pretty evil.
Oh, yeah.
He's power hungry and ruthless.
For sure. And the source material isn't trying to say that he's a good guy.
Right.
But it's asking us to consider the possibility that his desire for power, it comes from a place of feeling trapped. Like he's been denied the opportunities that others have.
So it's like he's responding to the system. Right.
Exactly. He's not just evil for the sake of being evil.
Right.
There's a reason behind his actions.
It's almost like both he and Aladdin are ambitious. But the film romanticizes Aladdin's ambition.
Totally.
And demonizes Jafar's.
And that contrast might be saying something about how we view different paths to success in society. Aladdin's the street rat who becomes a prince, so it's this classic underdog story. Jafar, though, he's a threat to those in power, so his ambition is seen as dangerous.
Wow, I'm like seeing these characters in a whole new way now.
I know, right? It's pretty cool.
But okay, we have to talk about the romance.
Oh, yeah.
Aladdin and Jasmine. It wouldn't be a Disney movie without a love story.
You gotta have the love story.
But even their relationship, right? It's not as simple as it seems. Their whole romance is built on a lie.
Exactly. And the source material points out that Jasmine's looking for something outside her palace walls, even if it means falling for someone who's not who he says he is.
Right. She wants something real. And Aladdin, when he's pretending to be Prince Ali, he's offering her that illusion of something different.
It's like this perfect storm of desires and deception.
And it makes that song a whole new world.
Oh, yeah.
Take on a whole new meaning. Right.
Yeah.
They're singing about escaping.
Right.
But it's all based on this fantasy.
It's like a commentary on how romantic ideals can sometimes blind us to the realities of the world.
It makes you think, is the film doing this intentionally?
Right.
Layering in these criticisms? Or is it just reflection of the time it was made?
It's hard to say for sure, but one thing's for sure, it's a lot more complex than it might seem on the surface.
Okay, well, speaking of characters who might be more complex than they seem, we have to talk about the Sultan. And the source material does not hold back. They call him a clueless boomer figure.
Okay, I'll admit, that's a pretty funny way to put it.
It's hilarious.
But it also says something about how the film portrays leadership, or maybe the lack of leadership.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Well, the Sultan is often shown as this clueless, out-of-touch figure who's totally oblivious to the struggles of his people.
Yeah, he's obsessed with tradition, hoarding wealth.
Yeah.
His solution to everything is get Jasmine married.
Exactly. It's like he's stuck in the past and completely disconnected from the realities of his kingdom.
But is that really all there is to him? I mean, is he really that oblivious?
That's a good question. Remember that scene where he practically begs Jafar to take over?
Oh, you're right.
It's almost like he's relieved to hand over the responsibility. Makes you wonder, is he intentionally playing dumb? Maybe he knows more than he lets on, but it's easier to pretend to be clueless than to actually deal with the problems.
It's easier to just maintain the status quo.
Exactly.
Than to actually face the tough stuff.
Right. And this brings us back to that idea of ambition. Jafar's ambition is seen as dangerous, while the Sultan's complacency, his willingness to just keep things as they are, it's presented as, well, not really a threat. It makes you wonder what the film is saying about those in power.
Yeah. Like, are we more accepting of inaction than we are of ambition?
Right.
Even if that ambition comes from, a villain.
Exactly. It's all about perspective.
Wow. Okay. My brain is officially blown.
I know, right? It's crazy how much depth there is to this film.
It's like Aladdin isn't just a fairy tale. It's this commentary on power and ambition and like how hard it is to make real change in a system that's rigged against you.
You got it.
Okay, so we've talked about economic inequality, the complexities of freedom, and this portrayal of leadership. But I keep thinking about this question.
What's that?
If Aladdin were made today, how would all of this be different?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Imagine a modern Agrabah. Climate change, political corruption, social media.
Right. Would Jasmine be posting on Instagram?
Oh, totally.
Like rebelling against her role? And Aladdin, would he be like hustling in the gig economy?
Absolutely. And the Sultan, would he be like totally out of touch?
Lost in his own world.
Living in a bubble. It's fascinating to think about how these themes would play out in a modern setting.
I know. We'll come back to that question later, but first we need to talk about one more character who plays a pretty big role in this whole freedom dilemma, the Sultan.
Okay, let's do it.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay with us.
So before we went away, we were talking about the Sultan and whether he's just kind of a bumbling dad or maybe more clever than he seems. But you know what?
What?
Thinking about the Sultan and Jasmine and Aladdin really got me thinking about this idea of freedom. Like every character seems to be looking for it, right?
Right, yeah.
Whether it's freedom from like poverty or expectations or even a magic lamp.
Yeah, you're totally right. It's a huge theme throughout the film. But here's the thing. The source material argues that none of them actually achieve complete freedom.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I mean, don't they all get what they want in the end?
I mean, on the surface level, yeah, but when you look closer,
Yeah.
you see that even with, magic and happy endings,
Yeah.
they're still limited by, like, the rules of the world they live in. It's like the film is saying that real change,
Right.
like systemic change, is way harder than just wishing for a better life.
Okay, I see. So break that down for me. Let's start with Aladdin.
Okay.
He's trapped by poverty at the beginning.
Uh-huh.
He wants a different life.
Exactly. And when he pretends to be Prince Ali, he gets to experience that different life, right? The freedom that comes with money and status.
Yeah, but even after he gets Jasmine and defeats Jafar, he's still kind of stuck, right? He's not a street rat anymore, but he's not really a prince either.
It's like he traded one kind of confinement for another. He escapes poverty, but now he's bound by all the rules and expectations that come with being a prince.
And plus, he got there by lying, so...
Right, his freedom is built on a lie.
Yeah.
It's kind of shaky ground to stand on.
Totally. And what about Jasmine?
Oh, yeah, she's a good one.
She wants freedom from the palace, right? From all the rules.
Totally. She wants to break free from those expectations, but in the end, she's still there.
Yeah.
Still stuck in the palace. It's ironic, right? She wants to be free.
Right.
But her happy ending is still within the same system she wanted to escape.
It's like the film is saying, you can have personal freedom, but the system stays the same.
Exactly. And this brings us to the genie. He's like the ultimate symbol of being trapped.
Right.
He's literally stuck in a lamp for thousands of years.
And then Aladdin frees him. But even that's complicated. He used the genie's power first, right?
Exactly. So it makes you question how selfless Aladdin's actions really are. The source points out that this complicates the idea of Aladdin as this purely good hero.
So is the genie really free? He goes from a lamp to this world that he doesn't even know.
And that kind of freedom, being thrown into something totally new, that can be just as overwhelming as being trapped.
Yeah, it's like getting out of prison but having no idea how to live outside.
Exactly. It's like he's not bound by the lamp anymore, but now he's bound by his lack of experience. And all that power, it might even feel like a burden. It's like freedom isn't just about breaking free from physical things. It's also about figuring out your place in the world, and the world doesn't always give you easy answers.
Okay, so if none of the characters are truly free, what's the message? It's just a cautionary tale.
That's what's so interesting about this analysis. It asks us to think about whether Aladdin is really a story of hope and winning, or a story about how hard it is to actually change things. Like, even if you get what you want, the system might stay the same.
Whoa, that's pretty heavy. So is it one or the other?
I think the cool thing is that it can be both. It's a story about magic and wishes, but it also shows us the reality of power and how tricky it can be to create real change.